afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us for the Near West Side Partners weekly webinar. Today is Wednesday, June 16th. And we have some great updates to share with you today before we meet with our special guest, Sherry Tessler from Hunger Task Force. So the first really exciting update we have to share is related to our Choice Neighborhood Initiative grant. The first of our action activities is about to be completed. The traffic calming planters that are destined to live on 27th Street will be installed later on Thursday. This is the first of the action activity projects to be completed. There will be flowers planted in each of the I think it's 12 planters along the corridor, and those will be planted by David J. Frank within the week. And this is really the first big step in finishing the streetscaping and rapid implementation projects that have been going on along 27th Street for over the course of the last year. So if you are in the neighborhood this weekend, definitely check out 27th Street, see our new planters. We're really excited to get this project wrapped up. Near West Side Partners is continuing to encourage everybody in the community to get their COVID-19 vaccine. Vaccines are available for everyone in Wisconsin 12 years of age and older. They are safe, they're free, and it's an easy way to protect yourself and those that you love, those who you love. And in the Near West Side, at Aurora Sinai, you can schedule an appointment as late as 7 p.m. To get your vaccine. They're free and they're available to all community members every day of the week. We really do recommend that you get your vaccine. You know, news is coming out that those who are vaccinated are protected against many of the variants that are popping up elsewhere. And we want to make sure that we can keep our numbers here in Milwaukee and in Wisconsin low so that we can continue to enjoy some of the newfound freedoms we have. I'm also excited to share that on Wednesday, June 30th at noon, during our regular scheduled webinar time, we will be welcoming U.S. Senator Tammy Baldwin to talk about the American Rescue Plan Act. This is a huge sweeping piece of legislation that's going to really make a big difference in our state and in our city. And I know there are a lot of people who have questions about it and what it means for us. So we do hope that you can join this conversation with Senator Tammy Baldwin. If you have questions, we ask that you email them to Barb Scotty in advance, and we will include her contact email in the chat function on Facebook. Next Tuesday, June 22nd at 5 p.m., we are hosting Know Your Rights training for renters along with Legal Action of Wisconsin. This is a great time to learn about your responsibilities as a tenant, how to access resources to support yourself, coming out of the pandemic, and how to avoid eviction, particularly in light of the lifting of the eviction moratorium at the end of this month. So we do hope that you can join us and that you can share this with renters in and around the Near West Side that you think could benefit from this kind of conversation. There will be refreshments and gift bags provided to all attendees by Legal Action of Wisconsin. So we do hope that you can come Tuesday, June 22nd at Neighborhood House, and that's at 5 p.m. It'll be no more than 1 hour. There are also some great community meetings coming up to talk about the 27th Street North-South Transit Studies. For those of you who may have participated a couple years ago when they were planning the East-West BRT line along Wisconsin Avenue, these are many of the same kinds of discussions. So they're going to be looking at what kind of transit types would be most valuable along North 27th, or not just North 27th Street, all of 27th Street. What routes are the most beneficial to the entire community, and where should station locations be in order to ensure that they're serving the most people who could use it. There is open registration at mkenorthsouth.com/engage. And the community meetings are Tuesday, the 22nd, June the 23rd, and June the 24th. Okay. I am also super excited to share that this Friday, we are reopening the Valete Street Oasis Market, which is located on the corner of 38th and Valete Streets. These are 2 produce stands that are available to our local farmers and vendors to sell their goods. It will be open every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 3 to 6 p.m. We have fresh produce every day. On Fridays, we have Pastor Dan from Mount Calvary Community Development Corporation joining us. On Saturdays, the Good Food Bus will be making a stop. And on Sundays, we have 2 of our neighbor farmers, Hua Lor and John Vang, who will be selling the produce that they grow at their farms. In addition, we have a lot of new bakers that are joining us. Many are vendors at Upstart Kitchen who are just kind of beginning their journey as entrepreneurs. So we hope that you can come out on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays to meet our new vendors, meet our farmers, and visit with your neighbors. Again, that's on 38th and Valete Streets. And now with that wraps up our updates from the Near West Side. I'll invite Sherry, our special guest, to turn on her camera. Today, we're inviting Sherry Tussler, the Executive Director of Hunger Task Force, to the webinar to talk about some of the services that are provided by Hunger Task Force, how residents and others can access them, and how we can support food access and food availability in the Near West Side. Sherry, thanks for joining us.
Glad to be here.
Can you start by telling us a little bit about what you do at Hunger Task Force and how Hunger Task Force works in the community?
Sure. I'm the Executive Director at Hunger Task Force. I've been employed here for the last 24 years. Hunger Task Force is an anti-hunger public policy organization. Locally, we're primarily known for our food bank and farm, but Hunger Task Force also works on all of the federal nutrition assistance programs, from the WIC program to school meals, Stock Box for seniors, the Food Share program, which is the largest of the federal nutrition programs. And our goal is to make sure that all those programs are fully enrolled. Our mission statement says that we exist to feed people today, but also to end future hunger. And so we can't end hunger by simply operating food pantries, soup kitchens, and homeless shelters across the community, although we are responsible for supplying them as Milwaukee County's largest food bank and administrator of a number of large federal commodity programs. So Hunger Task Force exists on the Near West Side, and I have a presentation that I can do to show people where we are and who we're helping on the Near West Side.
Great. I will go on to the next slide.
I thought this was the easiest way, since we are the neighborhood of neighborhoods and we make up so many different areas. I'm familiar with the Near West Side because I'm a resident of the Near West Side. I live in Merrill Park. Here is a map of the general vicinity that we call the Near West Side. We extended some of those boundaries a little bit further to the north so that people could see some of the programs that were just outside of the Near West Side, but serving the Near West Side. And so you can see the 3 zip codes that are listed. Hunger Task Force is at public housing like College Court, Merrill Park, Highland Gardens, the State Street Apartments. And what we're doing at those locations, in addition to the Washington Park Senior Center, is we're distributing Stock Box. The Stock Box also usually is accompanied by the mobile market, which is the Piggly Wiggly Mobile Market. It's a single aisle grocery store on wheels. And right now on the Near West Side, it is offering 50% off retail pricing at Piggly Wiggly. And that is due to a generous gift by the Harley Davidson Foundation. So people can go shopping on the mobile market. It's not just for seniors. It's not just for the people who are living in public housing, but it's for everyone in the neighborhood. And it's a great opportunity to get access to, say, a gallon of milk for $1 as opposed to $4 at the corner store. Hunger Task Force also supplies food pantries, soup kitchens, and meal sites. And some of those locations are also indicated here on the map. The Center for Veterans Issues, the Hmong American Friendship Association, let me see here, St. Ben's Community Meal Program, served just outside the Near West Side, but definitely serving the Near West Side, are some examples, a neighborhood house of groups that Hunger Task Force routinely supplies food to. And so those organizations either prepare meals for people who are sitting down for a communal dining opportunity, or they provide bags of food, such as Neighborhood House. We know that the Central City Church's food pantry closed just before the onset of the pandemic, and we were able to work with our friends at Neighborhood House to get a food pantry back into the Near West Side to serve people. The Hmong American Friendship Association serves not just Southeast Asian clientele, but also serves anybody who walks up from the neighborhood, although they may be more culturally relevant for Southeast Asian customers, providing food items like jasmine rice. Hope Lutheran is also one of our tinier pantries. They're only open a couple of days a week, but they are right there and serving the general community. And then up to the north is the United Methodist Children's Services, which is a more robust pantry that serves the neighborhood as well. What we tend to do is ask people who are in need of food pantry services to stick with their zip code and stick with their pantry, but any of these pantries will serve anyone the first time, and they're all required to serve the homeless, victims of domestic violence, migrants, and immigrants, regardless of their ability to show identification. So no one gets turned away. Let me see. We also operate the Summer Food Service Program. And so you'll notice that the Summer Food Service Program has got those little tiny people together: Lindsay Commons, West Side, Urban Ecology, Bethune, Story. And then Merrill Park is just a walk-up site where kids can congregate. There's Milwaukee Public Schools Recreation Division there, providing safe and supervised play for the kids there, but we provide a meal to children who walk up at that site. And then the rest of the sites are primarily school-based, but this summer, kids are allowed to go to any school to receive a meal if they're in need. So those are our site locations throughout the Near West Side. What I'd like to do also is to talk a little bit about the next slide, which is a timeline of programs, so that people can understand what the pandemic response was in terms of getting access to emergency food and then ongoing food. And so there is a new program that started approximately a year ago called Pandemic EBT. It sounds like a disease, but it's actually a social program. And what it stands for is electronic benefit transfer. And so people are getting a debit card in the mail, unless they're on food share, and then they're getting these payments on their food share card, which is called Quest. But the Pandemic EBT is intended to replace the National School Lunch Program and the School Breakfast Program for children who were learning virtually. The Milwaukee Public Schools were pretty much virtual all the way up until April. And so all MPS children should have received this Pandemic EBT payment, the very first one coming out in March of this year. And there'll be a second payment coming up on June 26th. Altogether, those payments should total for each individual child $1,200. It's a substantial amount of money, equal to, obviously a government check, but it's going to come in a series of payments. If people are having difficulty and they haven't received their Pandemic EBT, either through a white PEBT card mailed to them from the state, or on their Quest card, which they can call the 800 number on the back and figure out, are those benefits there and they just didn't get a notice, they can reach out to Hunger Task Force, and our staff can assist them to make sure that they're fully enrolled in that program. There's also a component called the Under 6. And so it's a child care PEBT payment that is being made to all families who are on food share at any point from October forward. And that payment is also being made this weekend. Parents should either look on they should look on their Quest card, because only people on food share are going to get the pre-6 or childcare PEBT. Finally, there's going to be something called summer PEBT, which is meant to replace the summer meals program. Some kids can't get to the park. They're not attending summer school this year. People are still concerned about their safety and keeping their kids at home. This summer issuance is going to happen on August 21st. And those children would be kids that would normally go to a summer school program. They would be kids who are on food share. And if they're not on food share, they would be people who had signed up for the National School Lunch Program on a free or reduced price basis. Strangely, the state knows about all of these families. The challenge has been that some of the schools haven't responded to some of the state surveys. And so if somebody's listening to this and they're going, hey, I'm that family, I'm an MPS household, I should have gotten this payment, or I signed up for the free and reduced price program of the National School Lunch Program for my children at a charter choice or parochial school, why am I not getting this payment? They can reach back to the Hunger Task Force and we can help straighten that out for them so that they will get that issuance. The final issuances will be in September and October of this year, so there's still time to get the payment. The next program is Food Share, which again is the largest federal nutrition program of all. Prior to the pandemic, we had drug testing requirements. We were having work requirements for Food Share. It was just an under-enrolled and challenging program, and people did not feel like they were being treated in a dignified way when they needed help. Since the pandemic, so many people have applied for Food Share that every one of us knows somebody who needs it and they're willing to get it. But the fabulous benefit is that the Food Share payment is getting an emergency allotment. Seniors used to get $16 a month on Food Share. They're now getting $234 per month. And there is still time to sign up for this. In order to get the emergency allotment from the federal government, and this is 100% federal funding, we needed to have the emergency order in place at both the state and federal level. You can remember last June, our emergency order lapsed for a period, then it went back into being, and so emergency allotments returned. And then back in February, our legislature decided that they were going to terminate our emergency order, but we were able to sort of move around the legislature and get the Department of Health Services Secretary to write a new emergency order. That emergency order, as long as it is in effect simultaneously with the federal order, will assure that people will get those emergency allotments. And we anticipate that those allotments will probably go through December 31st of this year. People should, again, check their Food Share card and see what kind of payment they're getting. They should get a notice in the mail, although sometimes they don't. And if there are any questions at all, Hunger Task Force has 12 Food Share outreach specialists that can assist people. We have a location at the Robles Center at 723 West Mitchell, and we just recently opened up a new center called Alicia's Place in the Midtown Shopping Mall. They can walk in, they can get direct assistance from us. We can assist them to apply, to renew, to verify, and take care of anything going on with their case. There was also, thanks to the Biden administration, a 15% increase in Food Share allotments per household. And people are going to see that through the end of this federal fiscal year, which is going to end September 30th. And so there should be more money than ever on your Food Share card to buy the foods that you appreciate the most. And I want to remind people that the mobile market on the Near West Side takes Food Share, which means that they're going to get 50% off and they have more money than ever to spend. So go on down there and get some healthy foods on the mobile market, spend your Food Share. But people should understand that both PEBT and Food Share stay on the card for 12 months before they're expunged. And so they don't have to hurry out and spend every single dime that's on their card. They can take their time and they can spend their Food Share benefits at farmers markets as well. The other direct food support programs that have been ongoing have been the Emergency Food Assistance Program, which is us getting food into food pantries. That program ballooned in June of last year, and there's more food than ever at food pantries. I'm sure a lot of us have seen some drive-through food distributions going on, and that was a Trump program called Farmers to Families. It recently ended, and so they won't see as many of those drive-throughs going on, but the pantry network in the city of Milwaukee is robust and well supplied and has equal access to all of those commodity foods across the county. So you don't have to go to a nice neighborhood or a different neighborhood in order to get good food. You'll get great food no matter where you visit, and Neighborhood House has been running a really great pantry. Summer meals have just kicked off literally this week. And so, you know, you can go to Merrill Park, you can go to any of those schools that are listed on the map and get access to a free summer meal. It's pretty easy to just pick them up. People are going to get both lunch and supper, thanks to Kohl's department stores paying for the suppers. And so if they visit Merrill Park specifically, adults can also eat with their children. And so this isn't just a kid program in Merrill Park. And then if you look down below, you can see the various American Recovery Program Act benefits that are coming, child care tax credits, the unemployment, and then WIC also got a bump from the Biden administration. That's the Women, Infants, and Children's Program. And pregnant women, moms that are postpartum, and children up to age 6 are able to obtain those benefits. And they expanded the purchase of fresh fruit and vegetables. So again, great program, and it works really well at farmers markets. So that's my general overview of what Hunger Task Force is and does. We are happy to involve volunteers. Our farm is robust and operating again. We are moving to our new headquarters at 5000 West Electric Avenue prior to the end of our federal fiscal year, again, September 30th. So the location people are most familiar with on Hawley Court will soon be sold, and we'll still be near the near west side, and we welcome people to come volunteer at that location as well.
Thank you, Sherry. This is a lot of really, really great information. Oops, sorry, my dog Arnie is trying to make an appearance today. I will ask a couple of questions really quick, but before we do, I just want to we have a couple of slides about the mobile market here. The next stop is on Tuesday, next Tuesday, the 22nd at Penfield Children's Center. If you haven't checked it out before, the mobile market is really cool. And as Sherry said, everybody can visit it. It does accept debit cards, credit cards, Quest cards. So if you haven't been there, definitely check it out. And then the neighborhood house pantry is Wednesdays and Thursdays.
I can pick up here, and but do you go to the mobile market? I personally have used it and love it. So it is a great resource for everybody in our neighborhood. And again, thanks to Harley Davidson for being able to provide extra support for our neighbors. Lindsay, are you ready to take over?
I think so. I will ask my next question relatively quickly. So I really appreciate you covering all of the benefits that became available to families during the shutdown and during the pandemic. And I'm happy to see that so many of them are going to last at least through the end of this year, or at least a good portion of this year. Are there certain things like families and individuals should start preparing for as we begin to emerge from the pandemic, and perhaps as some of these programs and benefits start to expire?
They should think about the issue of expungement on the card. If they're able to save some of those resources to get themselves and their family through the winter when things can be really difficult, that would be a great idea. The mobile market will continue, and that discount will continue, so they can save some money there. Stockbox will continue throughout the course of the pandemic, as will the commodity programs, and anybody who's attended any of our Stockbox distributions right now through a drive up like at Washington Park or a walk up at College Court is receiving more food than they can literally carry home. So know that those supplies should remain pretty robust until probably about this time next year. We'll see what happens next with the Biden administration. But I would be thoughtful about what I do with my food resources. I would make sure I was eligible for every single program that I named. And if I needed help, I would reach out to Hunger Task Force. You can call us at 777-0483. We'll get you connected with those programs and we will assist people throughout the course of this process.
That's great. And Barb had a great question here. What can residents and people who are interested do to connect with state and federal policy makers to advocate for food support? And are there certain issues or policies that they should be advocating for?
Yes. Before the pandemic, Wisconsin was 49th out of all of the states for its allotment of food share. We were miserly. So we've increased that allotment to the maximum allowable, which is why those seniors got kicked up from $16 to $234. We can get the maximum. All we have to do as a state is say, we're more interested in the maximum. Again, those are federal benefits, 100% federal benefits. We were turning money away that was intended for low-income people because we believed that food share created dependency and made people not want to work, which is not true. So people could advocate. Evan Goyke is, of course, our state rep. And Evan knows these issues really, really well. And he's on finance. So he could serve as an advocate, not just for the near West Side, but for low-income people across the state. The other thing that's going on that people should be really not happy about is that the welfare office remains shuttered. It's run by the Department of Health Services. They're the people who lifted the ban. Right? So we can go in, but our welfare office is open 2 days a week for 2 hours at a time, even though the website says it's open from 7:30 until 5. People who are homeless, people with disabilities that are elderly, blind, or disabled, limited English proficient people, they all need in-person assistance. And we're not providing that in-person assistance right now through our state government. And we should not be happy about that. So we should be calling Evan and we should be calling whoever else at the Department of Health Services, whether it's Secretary Timberlake, and expressing our concern that people need access to those services. And since they themselves have declared that there's no longer a state of emergency or that would lock us out of attending in-person events, that our welfare office needs to reopen.
I am shocked to hear that this isn't considered an essential service, regardless of the state of emergency.
Through that, and our county runs its Aging and Disability Resource Center on the 3rd floor of that building, and that is not open or available either.
Well, thank you, Sherry. This is very helpful information, and I'm sure there will be many phone calls and emails sent following this webinar. I'm going to switch gears just a little bit. You talked briefly about the farm. For those who aren't super familiar with Hunger Task Force Farm, can you tell us what it does and how the food that's grown there is distributed throughout your network?
Sure. It was the Milwaukee County House of Correction Work Farm. And so it's 200 acres surrounding the House of Correction on 68th Street in Franklin. And at the point that our county executive, Scott Walker, chose to shutter the farm and close it down, the land remained fallow. And the county board decided to gift, and in fact, the farm to the Hunger Task Force. And they created the farm as a park, which means it's a protected lands right now. So Hunger Task Force took over the farm. We started hiring farmers and farm hands, and we were able to use our nonprofit status to obtain lots of gifts to purchase equipment. The old farm used to be a series of community gardens. It is now literally a farm with tractors. And so we grow about 70 acres at a time of fruit and vegetables. Some of the land is natural areas, including a 40-acre oak savanna, which is a beautiful gem here in Milwaukee County. We manage those natural areas as well. The farm also has a fish hatchery, and that hatchery grows 40,000 Wisconsin grown fish and drops them into Milwaukee County parks every year through a series of fishing opportunities. So you can check out the park's website to hear more about that. The idea is that people shouldn't have to leave the county to go fishing. The farm has 6 orchards, so we grow apples and pears as well. We do have some fruit in the form of melons, but we'll grow about 26 different varieties of produce and then harvest it and deliver it to our food pantry network so people can get access to really wholesome foods that are effectively as good as your farmer's market.
That is so cool. I did not realize that you were stocking the ponds and the lagoons. That is, I see people fishing all the time and I just love it. So that's really neat.
Otherwise, there wouldn't be any fish in them.
Yeah, right. So we can, I don't see a whole lot of other questions coming in. So I do have just 2 to kind of wrap things up here. Obviously, throughout the pandemic, we saw a lot of need. Is there any place right now that you're seeing, you know, any one thing or 2 things that there's really a significant need? And how can people support Hunger Task Force in meeting that?
The dairy recovery program, I think, was very important. And what we saw at the beginning of the pandemic was the shuttering of schools and restaurants. And as a result, a lot of Wisconsin dairymen were struggling and spilling their milk. Frankly, it couldn't get processed, and that made people crazy. And so a lot of people donated money to the Hunger Task Force, and we launched the dairy recovery program. I can report that we literally saved a number of cheese cooperatives and dairy cooperatives from bankruptcy during the course of the pandemic by buying their milk and cheese. And we distributed that across the state of Wisconsin and not just here in Milwaukee County. And so for the first time ever, people got gallons of fluid milk. When they went to a food pantry, they got Swiss cheese and Gouda and some really beautiful cheddar. And that's new. The government cheese is that loaf of American. So getting really great Wisconsin products out, and that need continues to exist. I talked to a farmer today. He's the only U.S. pheasant farm. And he's struggling because people aren't buying his pheasants because there aren't cruise ships anymore and there aren't as many fancy white cloth restaurants open. And so people should buy a McFarland pheasant if they can. But if they want to donate to the dairy recovery program, that program continues, and we can continue to move milk and cheese across the state of Wisconsin to some of our rural partners, including helping out some of the tribal nations.
That's great. Thank you. You know, Sherry, I could talk to you all day about this. I think you've just you've said it in so many different ways, this idea of food systems and how it's not just about people having food on their plates. It's about how the food gets there and the people who make it and ensuring that the whole system is healthy kind of from the start to the end. And I do appreciate that so much. I think Hunger Task Force does so much for our Milwaukee community and for our state. And we're so grateful to have you doing all that you do. So with that, I will wrap this up. Thank you again for joining us. And for those who are joining the webinar on Zoom and on Facebook, be sure to check out the mobile market on Tuesday, the 22nd at Penfield Children's Center. And Arnie says goodbye too. Have a great day.
Thanks.